Hello and welcome to the Math by Matthew virtual homework help class this Monday, August 31st at 7 p.m. We are coming to you live from Tucson, Arizona, and today we will be answering as many of your questions as possible. To get your questions answered, Paul will be communicating with you directly through the Zoom chat once you enter the room. The Zoom chat is located at the bottom of your screen. Let's start by taking a look at the question of the day. This question offers daily practice and as a tune-up for college entrance exams like the SAT and ACT. This question and full solution can be found on the Math by Matthew website, www.mathbymatthew.com. A new question is posted every day with the full Math by Matthew method explaining how to solve it. Let's take a look at today's questions. Today's question says, if the quantity n squared plus m squared I minus the quantity 3 plus 14i equals negative 9 plus 5i, where I equals the square root of negative 1, what are the values of m which satisfy the given equation? Let's start by writing the given equation. We can rewrite it exactly as is to separate it from the rest of the question. This allows us to focus on the task at hand, which is to figure out what values of m make the equation true. The parentheses in front here are what I consider to be implied parentheses, indicating that they are not needed and simply there, and we can remove them. We're going to distribute this negative to both terms and rewrite the left-hand side. Notice that there are real terms, and then there are complex valued terms. We can rearrange so that the real terms are next to one another and keep the right-hand side as is. Since we're solving for m, we want to focus our attention on the imaginary part, and I left an I out in the beginning here. So we're focusing on setting this part equal to this part. M squared I minus 14i equals 5i. If I factor out I from the left-hand side, I can now set the coefficients, or the leading parts, equal to each other. Add 14 to both sides, and take a square root of both sides, leaving plus or minus the square root of 19 as the answer. Let's go back and check and see if that's there. Answer A is the correct answer to the question of the day. To find the question of the day, go to www.mathbymatthew.com and click on the Question of the Day tab. Once the question loads, you can download and print out the question. We recommend the question of the day as a perfect tune-up for entrance exams like the SAT and ACT. A new question is posted every day. Let's get back and talk a little bit more about the value I that we discussed in the question of the day. The value I usually appears when solving an equation like x squared equals negative 16. If you've never seen something like this before, you probably already know how to solve something like x squared equals 4. You know that you take the square root of both sides and that x equals plus or minus the square root of 4, and there are two solutions, plus or minus 2. But what do we do when there's a negative in front? Well, we recall from the question of the day that I is equal to the square root of negative 1, and related to that is I squared is equal to negative 1. If we take the square root of both sides, we see that x is equal to plus or minus the square root of negative 16. we can rewrite what's inside the square root as -1 times the square root of 16. We're using the property here that the square root of a times b is equal to the square root of a times the square root of b. This allows us to separate this into plus or minus the square root of -1 times the square root of 16. Again, from the question of the day, we know that the square root of -1 is I, and the square root of 16 is 4. Thus, the solution is x equals plus or minus 4i. By convention, the I tends to go after the coefficient of I. We want to also let you know that there are several options available to schedule lessons and meet with me, Matthew. We, of course, are doing a virtual homework help tonight, but if you're looking for other types of learning options, go to the website, www.mathbymatthew.com, and click on Meet with Matthew. From there, you will see 3 options for meeting with Matthew. Private tutoring is great for students that want traditional one-on-one help. Group classes are coming up in October, and these are available for SAT and ACT preparation. We plan to cover both content areas relevant to the exam and specific test-taking strategies to get your best score ever. Tonight, if you've joined us, you're looking at the virtual homework help class, and we try to answer your toughest homework questions by one of our experts. Well, this is a great time to introduce Paul, a member of the team here, Math by Matthew. Paul's been with us for about 2 years, and his background is in physics. And I wanted a chance to get him to join us today. And what I was hoping to do is have him jump on the call here and tell us a little bit about some of the things that he's been excited about. He also has an interest in astronomy. And I believe he wants to share a little bit of information with us today. Paul, are you there?
Hey, Matthew.
Hey, Paul. Thanks for joining us today. I know you're usually moderating the participants for us, but looks like we've got an opportunity to let you share a little bit tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Matthew. I appreciate it. I'm excited to share a little bit about what's going on right now. So every year there's meteor showers that happen at a set time. You guys probably know what shooting stars are, and they're actually little tiny pieces of sand and dust that flies through the atmosphere at incredible speeds. It's amazing how fast these things are and how small they are. And they burn up, vaporizing instantly. And so that's what you see really when you think of a shooting star. But right now there's actually a comet that is passing by, and it creates a meteor shower. The comet is called Swift-Tuttle, named by 2 old guys, that discovered it a long time ago. And this comet passes by, and the comet has the head, which is like a rock, and then this tail, which is made of dust and ice and all kinds of different stuff. And so when it passes by the Earth, all the particles in the tail, they hit the Earth and create spectacular meteor showers that happen. And we're just actually at the end of the Perseids. That's what Swift-Tuttle causes. And so if you're in the northern hemisphere, you just got to go outside and look up at the sky, and you'll probably catch a few shooting stars within the span of 5 minutes. It technically ends tomorrow night, but you can still check some stuff out when you if you go outside. I personally love anything to do with astronomy and the night sky, but this is a great way for people to get a chance to really see how beautiful it is.
So Paul's our physics expert, and of course he just heard a little bit about the things going on in the sky around us that if we just took some time to look up and see, we'd really appreciate. Paul's definitely here to answer your questions as well if I'm not available or maybe I can't answer it. So Paul's a tremendous resource, and I appreciate you jumping in here tonight to introduce yourself to our audience.
Yeah, thank you, Matthew. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome. Glad to have you on the team here with us today. Well, that does look like it's going to be we're coming to the end of our talk today, our virtual homework help class. We really appreciate you guys taking the time to come out tonight. And I just want to let everyone know that the next virtual homework help class is this Wednesday at 4 p.m. It doesn't look like it's showing up, but that's because you got it switched to it. We're already into September. So make sure you choose the right time zone here. If you're in a different time zone, it'll update to the one that you're in. And we appreciate you guys taking the time to come out. Have a good night, everyone.